Hello, friends. Welcome to the first episode of the Big Black Bear podcast. And I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know how we're going to do it, but we're going to chat. And I'm happy to say that I'm joined for the very first episode with comedian, top MC, actor, the one and only, there's no end to her talents, is Cerys Nelmes. Hi, Cerys.
Hiya, Pav. You all right?
I'm all right. Yeah, well, you know...
Yeah.
I've had a weird couple of weeks, and the one thing I think when I have a weird couple of weeks is let's start a podcast. That's what I think we should do.
I don't know whether it's time of year. Do you know what I mean? Because it feels like there's a lot of people having a weird sort of time at the moment.
You know, that was part of my thinking. Is that the clocks haven't gone? Hang on, they fall back, so the clocks go back. They haven't gone back, but there's definitely been a difference in getting up and it being dark.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's the one reason, but I think there's layers of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the layers have just got a little bit too heavy for me. I've got things happening in my family. The one thing I will say, this podcast, I want whoever I'm talking to, for us both to be as open as possible. But I understand there are going to be parts that people aren't going to want to talk about, or talk about people that they, do you know what I mean? There's going to be stuff that we're not going to want to talk about. So I totally understand that. And I've got things in the family that's happening, and I think it's just those layers and layers and layers that there's that tipping point.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, that's what's happened over the last couple of weeks. But I don't know whether this is a good idea, and I don't know whether this is a bad idea to do a podcast. Hopefully it'll be good, because I'll get to talk to people like you. Now, there is one specific thing I want to talk about with you, but... You've sort
36 double D.
I knew that anyway.
They're smaller now.
From back in the old days.
Not that big anymore.
No. Well, I mean, you just aren't that big anymore. Physically, I mean.
No, exactly.
Professionally, you know.
Yeah.
But there are a couple of things I want to talk to you about. Firstly, you were sort of thrown into the public arena quite viciously last week or the week before, a couple of weeks ago, with the whole Russell Brand thing. I mean, I'm now watching Sky News, and all of a sudden there's somebody I know that's her face is there. How did that happen? How did that? I mean, this is a whole Russell Brand thing. So how did that happen?
I don't know Russell Brand. Never been touched by Russell Brand. Thank God. So it was just basically they wanted somebody to talk about sexual harassment and stuff in the comedy industry. And they realised quite quickly that nobody on TV, no female comedian on TV, wanted to talk publicly about it, because we're all fucking terrified. Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, of course you can, yeah. We're
all just terrified of the fallout. So normally there's a girl that they go to called Kate Smurthwaite that does quite a lot. She does Jeremy Vine's show and stuff like that. But she was away, so she just basically threw my name into the mix. And of course, I was the only person that they could get to do it. And the first one came when I was at the gym doing Pilates, so I had to do a live video sort of interview from the gym, from the bloody spinning studio. And then it kind of happened throughout the day. And then the next day, I just happened to be in London, so I went down to Talk TV and did some interviews down there. And then what it does is brings up the fact that there are so many people in the comedy industry that are a little bit too handsy and a little bit too rapey, which then started me on my own journey with somebody that had sort of been not very great to me. It was even before I'd kind of started doing comedy, so it's a good job that it didn't put it stopped me from working in Bristol for my whole career. Apart from what I do now, so in a way it did halt my sort of progress, but it's just men in power, isn't it? It's just men in power, and it's not in the comedy industry. Obviously the Russell Brand thing just highlighted the comedy industry. I've worked in male dominated environments. I was a firefighter. I know how to toe the line. I know how to work with people, and I'm not these women that's going to go into a situation and go, right, I don't want any swearing, don't say that, don't do that, because that's not how it is. You just get on with things, and there's still lines that I'm like, that's too far now, but I'll just take myself out of a room or whatever else. But it just highlights the fact that women are still in this position where we're dominated by men in power and controlled by men in power, and that's not going to change.
No, but when you're emceeing or when you're on stage doing your comedy and stuff, I mean, I've seen it when you've come and done live stuff for us before. I'm not saying you it's not attacking, that's not the word, but you're very front-footed, aren't you? You will call people out, and it's sort of part of your show. You're very conversational with your audience.
Yeah.
So you will take the piss out of people, and you will, if somebody's giving you a bit of shit, you'll give them a bit of shit back.
Yeah.
Now, is that... Oh, go on.
Go on.
No, go on.
No, go on.
Oh. The next half hour is just us going, no, you go on.
No, you put the phone down. No, you put the phone down. You. Yeah, go on. What were you saying?
No, well, it is. I mean, I've seen it firsthand that somebody that decides that they want to have a little bit of a vocal fight with you,
yeah,
you are so easy at making them then feel small. But that's up on stage, and that's almost like part of your, in quotes, act.
Yeah.
How hard is that to do that backstage when you've got somebody, doing that to you?
I'll just address that first. I have to do that because as a female comic coming onto stage, you visibly see people go, oh, for fuck's sake, it's a woman.
Right.
So, especially if I'm comparing, I need to come out and go, bah, 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 bah. So they're like, okay, we're in safe hands. So if anybody sort of tries it, I'm like, oh no, that's not happening. Come on, this is my night. I'm in control. You're in my house. So that's the reason I've developed that kind of style, is so the audience know they're in safe hands and they're in for a good night, and I'm not going to stand any messing. I'm going to set it up nice for comedians. Backstage, I'm very quiet.
Right.
I listen, I watch, because you're very aware of not becoming a troublemaker, somebody that's a hassle to work with. So I was at a gig recently where I was being manhandled by a member of the gig staff. There was a very well-known TV comedian watching it all pan out and stayed quiet.
Right.
Through, to the point when the main organizer realized what was going on, he took this man away, and then the TV comic then said, do not let that man back here again. I will punch him in the face. In fact, get him out of the tent and get him out of the festival, because I will not be working after what I've just witnessed.
Right.
And for me, I'm like, yeah, you witnessed it and you didn't say anything and you didn't stop it. So as much as I was with somebody backstage, and there were other people there as well, not one person did anything. And that's a man.
Yeah.
That's a man not helping out a female that's there going, no, can you stop touching me? Can you stop touching me? No, please get your hands off me.
Yeah. Does it piss you off a bit, though, that you've got to go on stage and be all ba 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 and sort of almost masculine in the way that you handle it? That you can't, because that is a little bit like it's what I want to come on to in a minute, but it's a little bit like having to put a mask on rather than being yourself doing your comedy.
Yeah. I mean, I say that I'm kind of like that anyway.
Oh, you are. Honest. I mean, you are. Yeah.
I've made myself out there to be some timid, shy girl. I just want to come out and do my job. And I do come out. I'm like, hello, my darlings. But if I'm in a situation where somebody starts, I'm like, oh no. I don't know whether you saw the clip the other day. I've got these platform trainers at the moment, and these blokes were really chatty. I'd barely been on stage for 30 seconds. And I was like, what's going on over here? And he went, what's going on with them trainers? I went, these are the trainers that are going to kick you in the dick when you try and rape me later.
I saw that, yes.
And I went backstage, and obviously everybody laughed, and he was like, whoa. And he was like, oh no, fair play. And I backstage was like, I don't even know where that came from. Where did that come from? But in that moment, I was like, I need to tell him and show him that this is going to end here unless I invite him to do so.
Yeah.
And that is part of me, and that's just my thinking. So I couldn't control, that wasn't a controlled thought, that wasn't something I've ever said before. So I am that kind of person, and I can bring it when I want to. And then of course, like last night I was at a gig, I'm like, oh, hello my darling. I said, I kind of talk to people and they kind of open up to me. And we had last night, we were in a posh school, we had affairs going on, and somebody's husband had gone drinking with somebody else's a work colleague. The wife had never met him, and that's what I love to bring out of people. I've got that conversational style that's like, hello, tell me what's going on here, and then I'll be like, oh well, I didn't see that come in. And like, we had two people that met at a Walker's Crisps factory. They still work there, and one was the boss and one was not too much underneath him. And I was like, did you fuck in the office? And he just went, yeah. And we were all like, what? We don't expect you to answer. What do you mean? Oh, I'm going to think very wisely about opening a packet of Walker's Crisps now. I don't know what's in them. But it's just things like that. I love doing that.
It's like you say that you could spend a year trying to write material like that, and you wouldn't come up with anything that's coming out as natural as when you're just talking to the audience.
And that's why I love it, because there's nothing funnier than what people just give me. And I'm aware of, like, I'll talk to somebody, I'm like, okay, this person doesn't want to talk. I'm aware of the body language, and if I do actually, because there was 5 people out the other day, and there was 2 couples and the single woman, and it became quite obvious quite quickly she didn't want to sort of talk. So I sort of play nice and like sort of back out of it as good. I don't shut it down, because I also don't want her to think that, oh, she don't want to talk, great. I'm like, oh no, that's good. Oh yeah, cool. That's your job. Brilliant. Oh, it's nice that you're out with your friends. And I kind of back out of it in a friendly way, because I don't want her to feel uncomfortable about being in the situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. There's nothing better than people, and being able to make them feel comfortable enough to tell you their secrets. You know what I mean?
So when you're
in a room full of strangers.
Yeah. So when does that make it easier though? If you're doing a gig where you've got people in there that know you, can they, especially if they know you really well, and because my whole point of this episode that I find that I'm finding hard is, as like we're both performers, okay?
I know what you're going to say, yeah.
It's when you are having a bad time. Like tonight, I've got to go and sing tonight, so I've got to really put the happy mask on as tight as I can, because I know that if somebody asks for a song that I find really emotional, I'm going to be a mess, and it's not going to be their fault. And I know that I've got to go in there and I've got to be, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you know? And I know, and I'm feeling dead inside. How do you deal with that when you're having a bad time? You can't keep, especially with yourself. This is your income, isn't it? This is your job. Yeah. So you have to go and do it, no matter how shitty you're feeling. How do you deal with that?
We seem very similar, but what it comes down to essentially is we're performers. The show must go on. Is the age old saying. I think I gigged the day after my dad died. People were like, what? And I was like, what was I going to do? Sit at home and not earn money and not be able to pay my mortgage? And just sit there and dwell on something I can't get back? And like you said, it's difficult when people know you, especially because I posted on social media very recently that I was struggling. So every gig I've been to since, somebody's gone, well, every person at the gig last night is, oh, how are you? And, how's things? Which is difficult, because then you're bringing it up again. And I posted on social media, I had so many messages. I haven't been able to read those messages. I haven't read the comments on the post because I can't.
No.
Because it'll be, oh, we all love you. And I'm not in an emotionally sort of sound place to be able to read them and not sit here bawling my eyes out for a long time. But yeah, it comes down to the fact that there's show Cerys, and then there's what I would say is depressed Cerys, because people don't see how I am all the time. So say if I wasn't, even if I am at a hotel this weekend, I'll be quite happy to stay in my pajamas all day, get ready for the gig later on. I won't go anywhere. I probably won't even venture downstairs to get any food or it is what it is. And I'm like that at home. My son's so used to going to work and I'm in bed, I'll probably sleep all day, and he'll come home and I'm still in my pajamas. I don't shower for days. Sometimes he'll come home and be like, you get in the shower? And I'm like, yeah, if I haven't got work, I've got nothing to do. I've got no purpose.
Yeah.
So say if my last gig was on a Saturday and my next gig isn't until Thursday, odds of me leaving the house are probably slim to zero. And my main thing is, you can see it in my bedroom. So my bedroom is an absolute embarrassing shit tip.
Okay.
Like, I could, if you popped round and were like, oh, can I see,
Can I see your bedroom?
take me to your bedroom? As obviously a lot of people do, knock on my door and say that on a
Of
day-to-day
course they
basis.
do. Yes. They're lining
But
up
no,
outside the door, Cerys.
exactly. If a friend was to come over and go, right, come on, show me this.
Yeah.
My friend did it. What was it? Sunday. She came over and she's like, right, come on, let's have a look. And she's like, yeah, this is your mental health. This is. I'm literally. It's almost like Pav. I'm burying myself in my bedroom.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm going to tidy it. And my sister's like, I'll come round and help you tidy. And I'm like, no, I need to do it myself. And I get really panicky. Or if somebody's like, I'm going to come round, I'm like, I can't have you in the house. I can't, let me do it because I can't have any. I need to do it myself, and I can't have anybody seeing it. And yet then I never do it.
Right.
But that's and somebody, Paul Cooper actually messaged me the other day. And he said that's hoarding is a side effect of bereavement, losing like your dad. That would be a side effect of that.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, it's weird. I've found that just the stupidest things start setting me off. But I also find that even when I'm where I feel I'm not going through a depression, like there'll be certain songs. I mean, I've become a big Taylor Swift fan. Okay, so it seems like, why are you looking like that?
I like it.
Okay, that's fair enough. But I find that like lyrics in a song, and all of a sudden I'll feel my eyes welling up.
Yeah.
And I know that I'm sort of I'm in the middle of the trough of depression at the moment. I took my dog for a walk yesterday and I was listening to a playlist, and the Justified Ancients of Moo Moo from KLF came on. I started bawling my eyes out.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to sing it.
That's fine. Yeah, that's it. There's a copyright strike straight away. You sing it.
Oh,
no, I'm only joking.
I was going to say I was hardly recognisable. I don't think of my rendition.
But I'll tell you what the reason is because when myself and my wife got together all those years ago, that was one of the songs that when we went out and danced, there's that bit that goes fishing in the rivers of life, and I can remember that we used to sing that line to each other in like a really funny way, and for some reason I had a really happy but a really emotional like feeling, and it was really, really strange that in this trough of depression that I've been in, there was that just a little flashback to something that was really happy sort of 30 years ago.
Yeah.
That then just set me off. And it's just weird how everything sets you off. Regarding the happy mask, when you have to, because you, like I say, you probably have to have it on a lot longer than I do. Does it make you physically and emotionally knackered?
Yeah, it does. And then you've also got to factor in as well. You come back out of a high of doing a gig, and so your crashes are bigger.
Yeah.
Bigger than like your average person, because you're like there, like last night 250 people, they're all laughing on the way out, oh my god, it's so good, oh my god, it's great, and getting messages this morning, and then you're sat on your own.
Yeah.
It's a massive up and down roller coaster. This job is, I love my job, it's just so lonely. Like I've been away, so I've been away for 3 nights, and yeah, I'd stay in nice hotels, not so nice hotels sometimes. hostel in London the other night.
Really?
I don't mind me. Yeah, Girl Guide hostel. I fucking stayed there before. It's bloody lovely. Me and a couple of old women in a room. Love it. So, and I stay nice places. I stay horrible places. I see places I've never been before. I see good things. I see bad things. But I see it all on my own.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah, but like the comedians, then I see them occasionally. We spend 20 minutes together, possibly, if they're just coming up to the gig, and then they go off. I always say they're work colleagues. They're not friends. They're, there's people you see very rarely, and even more so females. I was gigged with Felicity Ward, Australian comedian. Oh, New Zealand. God, is she Australian or New Zealand?
Oh, you fucked it there.
She lives down under somewhere.
Yeah.
She's just she's the Brent character in the Australian remake of The Female Office.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But we were at the Comedy Store on Thursday. I've known, obviously, who she is for years. We've never actually met, never
Right.
gigged together. So even the female side of it, you don't get that female like camaraderie in the green rooms. Obviously a little bit more now, which is good. But it's the loneliest job. You're driving hours on your own, which I don't mind. I have a little sing along in my car and stop for a coffee and do whatever. But essentially you're on your own.
Yeah.
All the time. And don't even get me started on the office Christmas party. Just me and a bottle of gin and a Christmas tree and a bit of tinsel.
That sounds like heaven.
And a photocopier. But we go back, like, I've been on antidepressants since I was 18.
Right.
I've tried to get myself, there's times I've tried to take myself off them.
Yeah.
Just not worth it.
See, now I've never been on meds, right? And I went to the doctor on Friday, and that was the discussion that we had. Now, you were saying about that massive dip, that massive low that you have after a gig. I have the same thing. So I've been singing for like 3 hours, and if it's a good gig, it's like you're a god, in a little pub. Everybody loves you, and everybody afterwards will say, "We love you." And then you have, I hope my wife won't listen to this, but you'll have like women that will look at you, like you're Robbie Williams. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they will come up and they go, "We love you." And I thought, if I was sat at the bar now, you wouldn't even look twice at me. You just wouldn't.
Yeah.
But when I come home, that's when I do the majority of my eating. That's my drug, is food. And whether I'm happy, really happy, I'll eat. And whether I'm really sad, I'll eat. And that's when it's my dangerous time, because especially if it's been a good gig, I will raid the cupboards and just eat crap for an hour. But it's the meds thing. I went and saw the doctor on Friday, like I said, and we had a discussion about it. And he said, well, he said, the meds I'd like to put you on, I can't even remember what it was. He mentioned it, but he said one of the side effects is that you may gain a bit of weight. And I thought, well, then I'm going to get even more depressed if I'm going to get, because so far I've been doing this thing for like 500 odd days. And I've lost about 20 pounds, which is, a lot of people say that's great, but it's not. It's crap. It really is crap for 500 days. And it makes me, that's another thing, that's another little layer that goes on. So the fact that if I'm taking tablets that I'm worried about getting not hooked, that sounds very dramatic, but I feel dependable on, that's going to make me add weight, is just going to make me worse. So we ended up like saying maybe that's not the course to go down.
Yeah.
But do you feel like you depend on them now?
Oh yeah. If I don't take them for some reason, occasionally I just be like, just can't bother to take them.
Yeah.
Like I have double dose. I'm on like, I think it's 40 milligrams a day. And Cal will notice. My son will notice. He'll be like, "Are you taking your tablets?" I'm like, "No, not for a few days."
Yeah.
Because he'll see the difference in me. And
what do they do then? What physically and mentally do they do?
It's weird because it's only when you're not on them that you realise how much worse it could be. Really? Yeah, I can like proper low, like I feel low all the time anyway. Oh, I cry. I feel low all the time anyway, but this is the next level of low, and I'm quite difficult to deal with. That's what I was going to say. So Cal has had to deal with me on his own pretty much for his whole life. And then the other person that gets it is my mum, because I go on holiday with her. So I see how they both just let me run if I'm in one of my like funks or like fucked up moods or whatever else. I can see it just going over my mum's head. She doesn't react to it. And like any other person would be like, what are you talking to me like that for? Because like, some of the stuff I say to my mum and stuff is I'm like embarrassed about. Like, it's horrible. Right. She just lets it go because she knows that I'm just having one of me moments. Yeah. And the same with Cal. We'll have a sort of argument or something, and he'll just let it go because he knows that it's just like it can't really control it. And you got to think that as well, coupled together with bloody menopause and stuff now on top of it. There's no way I could not be on antidepressants now, because
Yeah.
I've another bloody layer to everything you're doing. So yeah, it's almost like I've never been suicidal, but without them, that's the closest I ever probably come to being suicidal.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Do you,
It's that there's no way out. There just doesn't seem an end to anything.
when you're feeling down, does doing comedy help? Or is it something that makes you, when you got to go out, you think, oh no, I've got to go and do this? Or is there sometimes when you're in a funk that it actually does help you and just gives you that little bit of a lift?
It's a really, really weird thing. It's almost like I didn't choose comedy; it chose me. There was nothing. Well, I did performing arts at college, and I always knew I'd work in the arts, the performing arts. I never knew what it was until I started doing comedy. I was like, this is what I was like born to do. It's not a case of it cheers me up. I enjoy the fact that I can take other people out of their lives for an evening cheer them up.
That's exactly it with the
so
singing.
It's almost like you're taking that on as well. So it's almost like piling it on. You're taking on more responsibility. So it's not making me. I love my job. Don't get me wrong. I love my job. I love the stuff I say. I love the stuff I do. But I want them to be able to come out of their depression and the amount of messages I always get, like even with my stories and stuff. Oh my God, your stories cheer me up. They always make me laugh. Oh, keep doing what you're doing. Oh, I love watching like that simple thing where me and mum go out and I'm like, here I am on my own and just chilling, just walking down. Oh, for fuck's sake. And mum's going, people bloody love it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just simple things like that. And I'm like, if I can help one person not feel like I do, then that's all I need to do. That's all I'm happy. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah. One of the most emotional I've got at a couple of gigs were the ones straight after lockdown, when you would see loads of people just having fun. And it had been so long where people were frightened and people were worried. To see people out having fun, genuinely, there were times when I couldn't sing the song because it just made me so happy that people were out there having a laugh and having fun. So I think a lot of it is that it's not necessarily, I think, the adulation that you get, but it's the feeling you get from the people that you're performing in front of. Yeah,
it's taking that. We've all had our time. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors with other people. No. So I base it on, well, I've got a lot going on. These people have got a lot going on. They've come out, they've paid for a ticket, they've come out here tonight to have a good night. I'm going to make sure they have a bloody good night. And that's my job.
And I think that's the thing, is in that room, whether it's, say, me singing or you doing what you do, you're the most confident person in that room. So they think that's what you are 100% of the time. And I'm sure that with doing this, and because the trouble I have as well with the podcast, and everyone thinks, hey, look, if they saw me in real life, I am the least positive and confident person I know. Well, apart from you, maybe. But I think that's that whole happy mask thing. That you've got to be a performer to be able to put that mask on and nobody realizes that you are on your ass.
Do you know what I'm worried about, Pav, is if and when I get in a relationship, because I don't want them to see that person on stage and think that's what they're getting, because that isn't what they're getting. And I will say, this is the worst thing for me, is I haven't got any friends.
You have?
No, I haven't. Right? And like, I class you as a friend. That's fine. I've got a lot of those friends. I've got nobody that I see on not even a yearly basis, definitely not monthly, definitely not weekly, definitely not daily. I've got nobody that checks in with me, like a close friend. Like there's a group of girls where I live that I went to school with. Occasionally, sort of once every 6 months, we'll go out for lunch or whatever else. But the rest of these girls, they go on holiday together. They go on family trips together. They'll like 4 of my mates yesterday, I saw their Instagram story. I was like, oh, where are you 4 off to? And they're like, oh, we're just going down to the New Forest for the weekend. I'm like, that's nice. And they're like, what are you up to? And I'm like, just gigging all week. And it comes down to the fact that I had a son early. So if I'm having a son just after my 20th birthday, then I ain't going out with my 20-year-old friends anymore. I got a baby at home.
Yeah.
And then obviously then I make friends with people that my son's grown up, they've got little kids. So we're not on the same thing anymore. Then I've always been the single person, and I'm very aware of being in a situation where people don't want that single female around their families, husbands, boyfriends, partners, whatever. And then I start to do a job where I'm working when other people aren't, and they're working when I'm not.
Yeah.
So my whole life has got me into the point where I haven't got, it's not even I'd love a close circle of female friends. I ain't got one close friend. I haven't got somebody that, my dad was my close friend. So when I lost him 6 years ago, that was the person that I cried with. He came round every day. My dad came, I saw him every day, right? Because he knew that if he didn't come round every day, I'd stay in bed all day.
Yeah.
So he'd be the reason I'd got up. I had to get up and unlock the door knowing that he'd be round at some point. Did I say lock the door or unlock the door then?
To lock the door.
Unlock, I meant.
Unlock.
Even now, like if I'm upset, so when I put the post out last week on Facebook, my mum rings up, and she does this like avoidance kind of technique where she won't address anything that you're talking about and talk about the new shoes she just bought or Slimming World. And I spoke to her about it the day after, and I was like, why'd you do that? She went, because I'm trying to get you to think about something else. And I was like, do you not think sometimes I just want to have a cry? She went, I can't deal with that. And my dad was the one that dealt with that. He'd come around, he'd be like, you all right? I'm like, I'm all right. And he's like, are you there? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And he'd be like, can we give your dad a hug? Hello, brother.
Yeah.
And he knew straight away. And Cal, I spoke to somebody recently. Somebody said you put too much on Cal, so I had to try and step that back even more recently. And Cal's noticed, and he's like, "You can still talk to me." I was like, "Yeah, but I don't think it's fair. You've had it for 25 years. I don't think it's fair. I'm trying to lay off you a little bit." But then by doing that, it's put me in even more of a funk, because I'm like, I've now got nobody to talk to, and that's the bare bones of it. And yeah, people are like, oh, you can ring me, you can, but it's not that. I know that there's people out there that I can talk to. I just am very aware I've never had that 1, 2, 3 female friends that are there for me. And that breaks my heart.
Oh, Cerys. I know I said I wanted this to be like emotional, raw and real. I don't want to upset you. I really don't. So it's just
the reality of stuff, isn't it? You just
well, it is.
To know that.
And the trouble is, you want to be there for other people, but I completely understand what you mean, because with people in my family, it's the same as like the old thing of like you can give good advice, but you can't take that same advice. If someone tells you the advice that you give, everything will be fine. Everything will be great. Like I'm saying to you, of course you've got friends, Cerys. You're going, yeah, I know. But inside you're going, fucking shut up. You're talking at your ass. And I know I've been in that same position. And what I'm going to say...
I almost feel bad saying it, because then I feel like that's the worst thing as well, because then you feel upset that you're probably upsetting people by saying it. But I've got friends, they're just not...
I know what you mean. They're the friends that you want there to be there every day. I mean, I suppose they're the friends that you want to, not that he could replace your dad, but be that same person.
Nobody knows anything about me.
No. And again, the thing is, everybody thinks they know about you because they see you up on stage and they think that's who you are. And I think that's the trouble when it comes to anybody that's performing, that, like you said. I think that's why so many famous people get married so much, is because everybody thinks that the person on the stage is who they get in the bedroom and who they get in
Yeah.
when they're living every day, and they're not, because they've all got that mask on, and they all get home and they all think, oh, I haven't got to be that fucking person anymore. I can just be a moody bastard. And then the person that's there is going, hang on a minute, where's the fun-loving, sexy person? You know,
Exactly.
I've got to deal with your bloody skid marks in your pants now. That's not sexy. Oh, that's what someone said about you. I wasn't. Not to me. That was a little bit too honest and truthful. I better. Let me. 36 minutes. I need to cut that bit out. Yeah.
Don't cut it out.
I'm going to try and not cut anything out. I want to try and make
us laugh.
Yeah, indeed. Oh, you haven't seen my skid marks, Gary, so that wouldn't make you laugh. No.
We're at the age, Pav. It just is what it is, mate.
It is.
This is another thing. Like, how do I sell myself to a man?
Oh God,
menopausal, skid marks, moustache. I was in the bloody bathroom, the lighting in there today showing up my little blonde moustache. I'm like, Jesus Christ. But,
I must admit, though, there isn't. I was talking about you to another friend of ours, Loz, who's going to be a guest on the pod in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And we were talking about you, and we were saying, "My God, have you seen Cerys lately? Have you seen how amazing that she looks?" And you have had this amazing transformation over the last couple of years. Was that another way to like boost yourself, or was it, what was? I mean, I don't want to be too personal on it. But...
Well, go back to your food thing that you say you rely on for your depression and trying to make you feel better, and you eat your feelings. And once I hit menopause, all I was doing was eating and sleeping for the best part of 5 years. And I went to a PT, and he's like, it's just is what it is. You're gonna have to change all your exercise routines. Your bone density is changing, your body's changing. What exercises worked before won't work now. Plus, you're not going to lose that weight because this is the time of the life that you're in. Went to the doctor. Yeah, you're just gonna pile on the weight. It is what it is. I was like, literally can't stop. I could eat a 3-course meal, and within minutes, my head's there going, "You're bloody starving again. What can I eat? What can I eat?" And I was like, I can't live like this. I literally can't live like this. And I was eating a lot. Like I love posting me food things on Instagram. But I'd go into a place, right? If I went into a cafe for brunch, I'd be like, oh, that savoury brunch looks nice. Oh, but that sweet brunch looks nice. Savoury or sweet? Both.
Yeah.
I'd have both.
Right.
And because like I knew I'd have like a short, if you left it too long between eating them both, you couldn't eat them both. But I made sure like I'd play through it because I knew get in and feel shitty all day. So it got to the point where I was like, I can't see an end to this. So I've never been thin or anything like that. I've always been overweight. Never, always been sort of around the 14 stone mark, size 14, 16, 18. And buying clothes. See, I'm not one of these people that goes in somewhere and like, if I had to buy a size 20 for it to feel comfortable and look all right, I'd buy a size 20. And like my mum refuses to be that person. She's like, oh, I'm getting a size 14. And I'm like, why don't you get a size 16 and then it's comfortable? No, I'm not a 16. Yeah, and I'm not that kind of person. If I'm buying a size 8 in one shop and buying an 18, it doesn't bother. It doesn't matter to me as long as it fits. But it got to the point where I was like, I can't see an end to this. I'm constantly eating. In order to get around that, I'm constantly sleeping. And so my mate had this gastric sleeve. I could see how well she was doing. And I was like, just going to do that. Because I was like, and then obviously a lot of family were like, no, what you do? I spoke to family about, what you know? Oh my God, people have died from that. Why are you being so silly? And I'm like, do you know what? I'd rather have a small amount of time not living like this anymore than to carry on living like this.
Yeah.
So if I have it done and I have a few months and I die, then I've had a fucking good few months. And this is what I say now. I have had the best year and a half. Like my body confidence is sky high. Just my confidence in myself. When I walk down the street, I see people looking at me. Obviously, that's because of the tattoo I've got, and I look like I might be robbing them. But regardless of whatever they're looking at me for, I'm like a size 10. I've never been a size 10. Do you know what, Pav? I can order something in a size 10 online, and you know what? It comes and it fits.
Yeah.
Never been able to do that with anything before. And then probably more depressing on the other side of it, more work's come in because I look aesthetically better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then another add-on, I am getting more attention from men because I look better. And I've even had men that I've known for like 10 years message me and go, hey. And I'm like, all right, mate, how's it going? They're like, you look good. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, like to take you out. And I'm like, but we've known each other for 10 years. And
Yeah.
if that was ever on the cards, why have you not taken me out before? And they're like, the outer shell has changed. And I'm like, but I'm still the same person. And they're like, well, you've always had the personality, so that's even better now. You've got the the looks to go with it. And I'm like, you're really starting to fuck me off, and I'm not going to go out with you because of what you've just said. And I have found that, though. I have worked on my personality for years, right? That's all I've had to rely on. And now the rest of me is caught up. I am an out and out threat.
Oh, but all right.
No,
it's going to be another. It's going to be another one of those things where you're going to in your mind go, "Oh, fucking shut up." But that very first time I met you at the Phoenix Festival, was that 2013? 2013? 10 years ago? Yeah. I thought you were beautiful then. Genuinely thought you were beautiful then, and not
Did you
just
see some of those photos. I look pregnant,
and
I wasn't.
No. Let me check them. Let me check my diary. Oh, thank God for that. The wife won't listen to this.
Your leg out the way. Yeah. Sorry, that was
so. And I think you remind me a lot of like our relationship with Loz as well. Is like you were one of those people that we clicked with right at the very start, and from inside and out, you were like one of those people that I could spend loads of time with this lady because she is just but again, I know that a lot of it is that performance thing because you were out there, you were doing a job, but I remember seeing that first photograph of you because we haven't seen you for a while, and I thought, my God, it's like a completely different person. But then when we actually spoke, and because I think you did the top 10 still the same. No, you're still the same Cerys. Doesn't matter what the outer shell is, so fuck that guy. Well, I mean, I don't know whether you did fuck that guy.
You know but no. It's somebody as well, which is funny.
God.
The prime example is my friend, who I've known all my life. She was born 2 days before me, lived next door to me. Hope she doesn't listen to this. Always been pretty, beautiful, perfect body. We had all the boys, had jobs she wanted, everything. We go out now and she is fuming.
Why?
Because
you're getting all the attention, I suppose.
Because I've got exactly what she's got now, but more, I've got the personality.
Oh, right.
Whereas she's relied on just her looks for all of her life. So now if people come in, if we're somewhere, men are immediately drawn to me because I've had to rely on my personality for so long.
Yeah.
So I shine brighter.
So what you're saying is that you are now the full package.
Mate, yeah.
Yeah.
Skid marks, hairy moustache, sweaty menopausal. I am the one.
There you go. Make a line, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, or gentlemen. I mean, I don't know. I mean,
exactly. Who cares these days? Do you know what I'm saying?
It could be any Cerys. I mean, as a first episode, this was everything I wanted it to be. I'm sorry that you had a few tears. I've got moist eyes as well, but I think that might be the menopause.
I just need to say quickly, we'll have to do another episode as well, because I got to why I'm on antidepressants. I was sexually abused. As a child, I was raped a few times in my teens and early 20s. I was in relationships with violent people that just came home from work going, I want sex, and I'd be like, I'm not in the mood, and then I'm just going to do it anyway. So I've had a horrible time, a lot sort of to do with sex and relationships, to the point where I've hated sex all of my life. I've hated that side of my life for the best part of 30 years. 10 years of those that I was celibate. This year, because of my newfound sort of confidence and stuff, that has opened up for me, and I'm living my best life with regards to stuff like that. So yeah, I might be depressed and stuff like that, but there's other stuff going on that I'm like, oh my God, for the first time in my life, that's better than what it ever has been. And yeah, so I just wanted to say there's reasons I've got to, and I always say this, I would never, it sounds really fucked up, I would never change those things because I wouldn't be who I am today.
No.
I don't know who I'd be.
Yeah.
And that upsets me in a small percentage. But on that note, I wouldn't be who I am.
Well, if you're happy to come and do another part, we'll have a Cerys Nelmes the sex episode, maybe. Yeah. I mean, God, I don't know.
I think that video's already on. So I might have to check the title and call it.
Yeah, maybe we'll change the title. Before we actually say goodbye, I just wanted to say thank you to Jen Berg, who sent our first email. Now, what I'm doing alongside the podcast is when I go out for my walks, I'm having a little microphone on and I'm just talking about what's in my head, and I'm calling them grizzly chats to go along with the Big Black Bear pod. So she emailed and said, "Hi, just subscribed to the new pod. The nature nerd in me wants to point out that grizzlies tend to be more reddish brown and not black. But the UK hasn't had an indigenous bear population for like 800 years, so I'll forgive you. Also, I love bears." Of course, I have no other suggestions for grizzly chat, because I was asking if there's any other names. I do know Jen from our other podcast, and I did say that this was the most Jen Berg email I'd ever received. So bless you for that, Jen. She did say, Churchill used to refer to his moods as black dogs. Fun facts. Thanks for doing this, she says. You've got, what was you call your, didn't you have you're the black dog, I think, isn't it, you call it?
It is, that is the main one.
Oh, is that what, right,
yeah,
right.
Black dog, yeah. I don't really use that term, but that is the main term.
That's the main term.
I just a bit moody, just under a cloud.
Yeah. Okay.
Stay away.
I was going to say, stay away. But how can people see your stuff, Cerys?
Oh, I'm all over a pav. I'm on bloody Insta and TikTok, and I got a website, just www.cerysnelmes.com. I've got all my future dates up there. Go off to Australia again for 3 months. See that as well. The most depressing part of the year. I fuck off to somewhere sunny. Thank you very much. That's so my favourite thing to do. Yeah.
So you should. So if you want to email us, bigblackbearpod at gmail.com. I've got to get used to saying that. All our social medias at bigblackbearpod. And also come and listen to the other podcast, the Top 10 of Anything. I'll put all the links in the show notes, especially for Cerys as well. Cerys, thank you for making this episode everything I wanted it to be.
No worries, my darling.
And I will say that I am your friend. I absolutely love you and adore you. And I'm here whenever you need me.
Likewise, my darling, likewise.
That's it. And we're both saying, I'm never going to fucking call you.
I don't need to deal with your shit.
Yes, I've got enough shit to fucking worry about. But yes, we'll have a part 2, and we'll delve into all the other stuff whenever you're ready, my dear.
Cool.
You have a lovely day. Thank you very much for everybody watching and listening, and bye, friends.